friends, my name is Greg Von Tobel and I'm president and founder of Prisoners for Christ Outreach Ministry. We're a ministry that's dedicated to taking the gospel of Jesus Christ into the jails, prisons, and juvenile institutions of the world. And today, in the last couple days, we have been walking through a video set of seven videos. We have just completed video number 5, staying healthy on trips, how to stay healthy on the airplane, how to stay healthy on the ground. And today we are going to talk about team organization. I think that it's very important to have your team fully trained before you get on the mission trip, having each member know what they're responsible for, and having your team leaders be organized as well. I'm going to be sharing with you today some tools that we've used here and incorporated at Prisoners for Christ. Some of these tools will be new to you. Some of them you may have already incorporated into your team planning sessions. Number 1, I want to talk about our campaign manual. Again, we will do 6 team meetings throughout our prior time of getting together before we hit the ground. We start about 3 months in advance, and we do team meetings every 2 weeks. This is our team campaign manual. It's about 100 pages and takes the newbie from A to Z in everything that they need to know and not know, the things that they need to be careful of once they hit the ground on the international front. So we use this as a tool to help train our new people, and for that matter, for those that have been on trips with us a number of different times. And the second tool that we use is our committee sheet. We live here in Seattle, Washington area, and there's an organization called the University of Washington Hospital. This is not only a hospital, but it is also a teaching hospital. And that's what we do here at Prisoners for Christ. We've taken that model and used it as a teaching model. Everybody is learning while they're on the trip with Prisoners for Christ. And so we always want to teach new people as well as veterans new and different areas within our trip. So we break it down into committees, and we assign people based on some of their skill sets. So we talk about the senior team leader, and we talk about the second in command. Then we have the treasurer. He handles all the money. He or she handles all the money. We talk about materials coordinator specialist. This is the person or group of people that are responsible for putting together materials for that day. Typically we do that the night before. We also have an errand person and a water coordinator. This committee is responsible for if somebody needs something and needs to run out with a national to pay for something to get it. Also means a water coordinator. They are responsible for making sure that every team member on our teams are well hydrated and have bottles of water before they go to bed at night, and have bottles of water when we leave the hotel. We also have couriers. These are the people that are responsible for carrying cash that we take to the foreign mission field. We typically will assign that to 3 different people. We have the airport, hotel, and ground communication coordinator. This is a person that is responsible for moving the team successfully through the airport, getting baggage checked, getting us through TSA and all the security, being the front runner when we check into a hotel, and being the communication specialist when we're on the ground. Then we have the auditor and note taker. Basically, this is a team of seasoned veterans that are sitting down with our nationals. At the very last day, we will do just a 1-hour interview with them with a predetermined set of questions that we will run through to help them and help us understand how they're doing. We also have an in-prison and conference coordinator. So if you're doing conferences, you may want to have a coordinator that's responsible for the handouts, responsible for distributing ink pens or whatever you're presenting at the conference. He or she is also responsible for making any time adjustments if the schedule should go longer than projected. We also have a medic specialist. This is a person that's responsible for carrying around our medic kit, and they are responsible for knowing a little bit about first aid. We'd love to have someone who's taken a first aid class on every one of our trips, but that's just not the case. We also have a photojournalist coordinator. He or she is responsible for taking pictures of whatever we're doing, whether we're teaching at a conference or in a jail or prison. We have very needed encouragement specialists. These are people that just ooze with encouragement. And we know that if we're on a trip of 12 or 14 days, we're going to get tired. People's nerves are going to get frazzled. These are people that can write out a very nice note and slip it under the door in their hotel in the evening. Historian is another segment of our committees, and this is a person that's got a good handle on writing 3 to 5 paragraphs every day about what the team's experienced, possibly even putting some emotion into that. That is the making. If someone is faithful in doing that every night, that is the makings of our trip report that we send out to all of our donors and prayer supporters. And then last, we have the statisticians. These are the people that are counting numbers. They are counting heads, they are counting humanitarian aid. And so this is good to remember what you've given to people as far as humanitarian aid. And that's always a good thing to come back and report to your donors. So we have a fairly extensive list of committees. Now, if you can tell that if you have a team of 4, a lot of people are going to be doing a whole lot of different things here. If you have a team of 8, then you can spread out the workload. So that's our committee approach. We also have our job description form. This is a breakdown of all the tasks that I've just gone over the last few minutes. A little bit more in detail, just bullet points. We go over this in our pre-trip meetings. We don't want to be training people on the ground. We want them as much as possible to be trained prior to leaving for the airport to go to our field. All right, so that's before the trip. Now we want to talk about during the trip. How are we going to keep the team organized during the trip? Well, a couple things that we've done here. I've alluded to this in the very first video. We have a couple laminated cards that we give to everybody on the trip. This particular laminated card has the American Embassy contact and phone numbers, after hours emergency numbers, and then we have our nationals phone number, and then over here we have the team and their cell phone numbers in case we need to be texting anybody with pertinent information on the trip. In addition to that, we also have our medical card. This medical card is extremely helpful if someone should get sick. In years past, we didn't laminate it, and what we found is because it wasn't laminated, people were losing it. It was getting crumpled, it was getting things spilled on it, so we decided to laminate that for all of our team members. So that's probably one of the preliminary things that you want to consider when making sure your team is organized. So number 1, laminate your cards. Number 2, Cliff Notes. What are Cliff Notes? Okay, so I showed you this side of this page, and this is all the committee assignments and all the names listed. But over here we have some pertinent information. So what I do for our team is that I will print these out and tell the printer to print 4 on a page so that we can fold it and we can keep it in our pockets or in our back pockets, in our passport covers. This will help keep down all of the questions, because if somebody says, "Oh, team leader, what time is our plane leaving to come home?" you can say to them, check out your Cliff Notes. It's on your Cliff Notes. Or if somebody says, what time are we leaving tomorrow morning? Well, it will be on the calendar that we provided in the Cliff Notes. So I would encourage you that if you haven't thought about this method of keeping things simple and putting it all together in one simple format, I would encourage you to do that. We also have our second tool for our IGLs. Now, what is an IGL? An IGL is our international group leader. He or she is the team leader for our group, and we provide them with a fairly extensive document before they leave for the trip. And I'm going to go over some of the indexes that we've provided in this. We have airline information, so we have copies of all the airline information, all the seats in section number 2. We have our block calendar. This is the scheduled day or scheduled week out. Knowing that things change rather quickly on the mission field, we need to be flexible, but this gives the team some ideas of what to be planning for a couple days in advance, and it also gives the people back home areas to be praying about, and it also can be given to spouses so they know where we're at any particular time. For the team leader, we also have in here a printed copy of the budget. This is in case something should happen on the laptop or any of our technology blowing up. At least the person having responsibilities for doing the treasurer's reporting will have a hard copy in case we have a meltdown of our technology. And then section 4 is a copy of the committees, which we just went over. Section 5 is contact information, again, primarily for people on the ground on the other side of the world. We want all of our IGLs to know how to contact them in case of an emergency. We have emails, so right prior to our trips, we have hundreds of emails going back and forth. And sometimes things can get lost in all those emails, so any important emails where we're sending deposits in advance, we place them in this pocket. We also have a section for maps, the map of the country, and we also have a map of the metropolitan area if we're going to be staying there, and any of the roads. But I do want to say that in the technology video at the end, I gave you a tip on a particular app called Maps.me. I would highly encourage you to download that application and become familiar with it. And then section 8 is hard copies of our medical insurance, and then back in the back, prior to anybody going on a missions trip with us, we have them complete a medical questionnaire, and we put that back in the back for our team leaders in case something should happen as far as what is a particular individual taking for prescriptions, etc. Section 10, we keep copies of all of the colored copies of all of our passports in here. Section 11, we have samples of our audit questionnaire that the team leader can just tear out and use that as a template to interview our nationals for the audits. And then section 12 is something that we haven't talked about, and this is a document that we send out 3 months in advance to our nationals. It's called Working with the Americans. It's a multi-page report. It covers expectations as far as humanitarian aid, overnight accommodations, night of arrival, and these are our expectations of what our nationals are going to get accomplished prior to us getting there. And that is in the back for our team leaders, just in case if they have to point something out to one of our nationals. So this is our field manual. Now, the last thing that we give is we give a manual out to all of our team leaders. So the team leader manual is like a third of the IGL manual. And again, this is pertinent information about airlines, about ticketing, about where we're staying, about hotels. So this is something that we provide our team members. All of these are spiral bound, and team members can just put that in their bags and review it when necessary. So I believe in team organization. I believe that the team leader needs to be organized prior to going on the field, and I believe that the team leader needs to be extremely organized while on the ground, we know that things are going to change on the international mission field. And so we need to be flexible, but I do believe in starting out on the right foot. So I want to thank you guys for listening again to video number 6, Team Organization. If you have any great ideas you'd like to pass my way, please do so at gvtpfy@gmail.com. That's gvtpfy@gmail.com. Thanks much, and have a blessed day.